beginning, before there was time, before there was sound, before there was light, there was God. The earth was formless and empty, covered in darkness. Yet even in the darkness, God was present. The Spirit of God moved gently over the waters, showing us that God was already at work before anything was seen. Then God spoke, and when God speaks, things change. God said, "Let there be light," and light broke through the darkness. God separated the light from the darkness and called the light day and the darkness night. This was the first day, a reminder that God brings order where there was chaos. On the second day, God spoke again and formed the sky. He separated the waters above from the waters below, creating space and atmosphere. God was shaping the world, preparing it for life. On the third day, God gathered the waters together, so dry land appeared. He called the land earth and the waters seas. Then God filled the land with grass, plants, and trees, each one producing seed. Life began to grow, and God saw that it was good. On the fourth day, God placed lights in the sky. He created the sun to rule the day, the moon to rule the night, and the stars to shine across the heavens. These lights were not just for beauty, but to mark time, seasons, and days, showing us that God is a God of order and purpose. On the fifth day, God filled the seas with living creatures and the sky with birds. Fish swam through the waters and birds soared through the air. God blessed them and told them to multiply and fill the earth. On the sixth day, God created animals of every kind, wild animals, livestock, and creatures that move along the ground. Then, at the height of creation, God did something extraordinary. He created humanity in His own image, male and female. God gave them authority to care for the earth and everything in it. He blessed them and called them to steward what He had made. When God looked at all He had created, the light, the land, the sky, the sea, the animals, and humanity, He saw that it was very good. Genesis 1 reminds us that creation was not an accident. It was spoken into existence by God's word. The same God who brought light out of darkness and order out of chaos is still at work today, creating, shaping, and bringing purpose to our lives. After God created the heavens and the earth, He finished all His work and rested, not because He was tired, but because everything was complete. God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, showing us that rest is part of His design. At that time, no plants had grown yet, and no rain had fallen. Instead, a mist rose from the ground and watered the whole earth. Then God formed a man from the dust of the ground. He breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living soul. Humanity began not by accident, but by the very breath of God. God planted a beautiful garden in Eden, filled with every tree that was pleasing to the eye and good for food. In the middle of the garden stood two special trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God placed the man in the garden to work it and take care of it. From the beginning, God gave purpose before permission. God told the man he was free to eat from every tree in the garden, except one. He warned that eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil would bring death. This command was not meant to limit the man, but to protect him and teach obedience. A river flowed out of Eden, dividing into 4 rivers that watered the land. Everything the man needed was already provided. Yet God said something surprising. It is not good for the man to be alone. This was the first thing God called not good. God brought every animal and bird to the man, and the man named them. Naming showed authority, but none of the animals were a suitable companion. So God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. He took one of the man's ribs and formed a woman. When the man saw her, he rejoiced, bone of his bones and flesh of his flesh. God created marriage as a sacred union, where a man and woman would leave their parents and become one flesh. The man and the woman lived together in the garden, naked and unashamed, fully known and fully accepted. Genesis 2 shows us a personal God, one who forms, breathes, provides, and desires relationship. It reminds us that we were created with purpose, placed in His care, and designed for connection with Him and with one another.